Hi, I'm Lucy Bell. A lot of you already know me, but a lot has changed, so I thought I would come on and reintroduce myself. I was born with an incredibly rare genetic condition called recessive dystrophic epidermolysis bullosa. It's a condition so rare that you have a greater chance of being struck by lightning than being born with my exact subtype. There is no cure, and when I was born, there was no treatment either. When my mother took me home from the hospital, the doctors told her that all she could do for me was pray. My life expectancy was 1 year, then 10 years, then 18. I grew up in Texas, but I became very sick as a teenager, and I actually had to graduate high school early to move to Denver to be closer to one of the only hospitals in the country that can treat people with EB. After a woman told me that I looked like I'd been mauled by a gorilla because of my scarring, I decided that I wanted to write about my life with my condition. So I started to write about my experiences with EB, and I got my first publication in the Huffington Post shortly before I turned 18. Then I had an experimental surgery, and it worked, and I got a lot healthier. And I began my higher education in London at Sotheby's Institute of Art in 2016. Before I even heard back about any American universities, I heard I got into the University of St. Andrews for art history and classics, and I accepted right away. Alongside my studies, though, I continued writing about my experience with EB, how it felt to outlive my life expectancy. Since I didn't have any role models who looked like me in the media, I became my own. Things amped up after my hand surgery in 2019 was beautifully documented by my friend Sophie, who ran an account called Behind the Scars. This led to my first feature in Vogue Italia. I was lucky enough to work with some amazing photographers, journalists, and magazines in my early 20s. But despite what the headline said about me, it was never my goal to be a model. I'd always wanted to educate people about EB, and modeling was a way for me to do that. Because EB is so visual, you really need to see it to understand. But what I really wanted was to become an academic. I fell in love with medieval art. After St. Andrews, I got my first master's at the Courtauld Institute of Art and began to see what amazing artwork lay unresearched all over the UK. I traded modeling for public speaking as an ambassador with Deborah UK, one of the only charities that represents people with my skin condition, which feels like a much better fit for me now. In 2022, I started studying at Cambridge and became a member of Gonville and Caius College. I was the first person with RDEB to attend Cambridge, but I really hope I'm far from the last. Then, in 2023, my dreams came true when I was given a PhD offer from St. Andrews. As a child, my mother was told often that I would never finish high school because I was just too sick. Even during my MPhil, I had been told that someone like me probably couldn't finish a PhD. I accepted the offer and began researching childhood and medieval art. Studying for my doctorate has been even better than I could have hoped. With such a visible condition, I didn't know if it would be possible for me to succeed in the art world or the heritage sector. But since 2023, I've spoken at Parliament twice, given my first invited academic talks, and have won national awards for my work on medieval English art. I wasn't sure how I would manage seemingly endless hospital trips alongside my work, but I realized I actually draw a lot of strength from it. It reminds me that I am so much more than my body, and I am so proud and grateful for the work I get to do and the life I get to have.